Hey guys, so today we're going to look at piecewise functions. So this is the first document that I uploaded in our Google Classroom. You do not have to print this out. You can simply just take notes. Remember, you can pause at any point. So if you want to try these before I go over it, it's always a great idea to try it and then just play it. And then as I move on to the next problem, pause it, try it, and then play it. So piecewise functions are pieces of different equations, and we're going to use the domain to show our cutoff. So this one has two pieces. So when I write my piecewise function, I'm just going to make a bracket that gives me space to write two equations. This first equation is a linear, so I'm going to count from this point to find my slope. This is rising 2, running 3. So that gives me a slope of 2/3. I do not need my y equals here because it's right here. So it's almost like that f of x equals is distributing to all the functions in the piecewise. So I'm going to use mx plus b. So m is 2/3 x. My b here would be -1. And then this piece, I'm going to look at my domain. So the left side is an arrow. So I'm going to say -infinity, and it goes all the way up to 0 on my x-axis. Make sure when you're doing domain that you're using x-axis. That's the boss. So I'm going to go to 0. It does not include this because this is open. So the way I say do not include, I'm going to do a parentheses. You might also see that as just x is less than 0. That's another option for listing your domain. All right, so now I'm going to go to my next piece. So the next piece is decreasing, and I can see a point right here. So this one's going down 1/1. So same, y equals mx plus b, -1 or just -x. And then my y-intercept is 3. This piece domain starts at 0 on my x, and it's a solid point, so I want to include 0, and then it's going to go all the way over to +infinity. Okay, so we tried some of these in class, but let's just quickly go through them again in case you missed it. So f of -4 tells me when x equals -4. So this piecewise has 3 pieces, and I need to figure out what piece x equals -4 goes into. So does -4 fit into being less than or equal to -2? Yeah, -4 is less than -2, so that means I'm going to use the first piece. So I'm going to plug in the x they give me. 2 times -4 is -8, plus 8 gives me 0. The next one says x equals 6. So 6 is not less than or equal to -2. It's not between those two. It's greater than 3. 6 is greater than 3, so I'm going to use this piece. Plug it in. 6 plus 3 is 9. Square root of 9 is 3. F of -2. X equals -2. Well, -2 is less than or equal to -2. So I'm back to using this first piece. 2x plus 8. 2 times -2 plus 8. -4 plus 8 is 4. Remember, you can always pause and try them and then press play. F of 0 is saying x is 0. Well, 0 is between -2 and 3. So I'm going to use the second piece. 0 squared minus 3 gives me -3. Same idea down here. So f of 8 is saying x is 8. 8 is greater than or equal to 5. So I'm going to use that third piece. 8 minus 2 is 6. Absolute value of 6 is 6. F of 0, x of 0. So 0 is less than 1. It's not in between 1 and 5, and it's not greater than 5. So 0 is less than 1. So I'm going to do 2x cubed minus 1. 2 times 0 cubed minus 1. 0 cubed is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. Minus 1 is -1. F of 4. So 4 is not less than 1. 4 is between 1 and 5. So I'm going to use the third piece. And there's nothing to plug in. There's no x. This is constant because it's saying my answer is constantly 3. My y is constantly 3, so it's just 3. F of 5. That was x equals 4. So this is x equals 5. So 5 is greater than or equal to 5. It's not in between here because this does not include the 5. So I'm going to plug it into this third one. 5 minus 2 is 3. Absolute value, or the distance from 0, is 3. All right, let's look at the second piece. So now instead of giving me the functions, they're giving me the graphs. But it's the same thing. When I see f of 2, I know they're giving me x is 2. So x is 2 leads me to this green piece. So x is 2 gives me a value of -1. F of -3. X is -3. So when x is -3, this is my x-axis, I look and I can see this piece and this piece. Well, this piece is open, so I do not include that one. So it's actually going to be right here. So I'm going to estimate that to be about 2.5. F of -1. X equals -1. -1 is right here on my x-axis. It lines up to this, but that's an open circle, so it doesn't include that. It also lines up to here, but it doesn't include that point since that's open too. So this I write does not exist. If I put a vertical line through x equals -1, there's no solid point, so there's no value for that. X equals -4 only hits this first piece, and that y value, or f of x value, is 2. Okay, let's try another one. So x equals 0. Here's 0. It lines up right here. That gives me a value of 2. X equals -4. Right here. Lines up to be +1. X equals -1. Right here. Doesn't include that point. So I'm going to look to see if there's another one. There is. -2. It could never be 2 points because then it wouldn't be a function, because x can't repeat. If x repeats, it's not a function. All right, x equals 3. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, line it up, and that's 3. Let's try to graph one now. So when x is less than or equal to 0, so here's 0, I'm going to have this function. So it would start at 1, and then it would go, let me get a pencil for this. We're going to start at 1, and I know I'm going to go down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. So here's this graph. I start at 1, down 2 over 1 would make this whole line. However, or I could go up to left 1. However, we know that our domain is cut off, and it's only the values that are less than 0. So here, I'm going to make this an open circle because it doesn't include my value when x is 0, and I'm just going to take the ones less than that, which would be this side where there's -infinity. So this whole rest of this graph is going to get erased. This is a 0, but that's confusing, so I'm just going to leave it. I was trying to show you guys where x is 0, but that makes it confusing. So if you want to go ahead and now draw it as a solid line instead of a pencil, you can. All right, when I do this piece, it says my y-intercept is 3. So I'm going to begin at -3, and then I want to rise 2, run 3. This is my beginning. This is my move. Rise 2, run 3, rise 2, run 3. So here's this whole line. And this time I want x is greater than or equal to 0. So where x is 0, which is there, but I'm not going to write it because it makes it confusing, I'm going to put a solid line, and then greater than 0 would be the right side of the graph. So I'm going to erase all of this. Okay, let's try one more. So this does not have an x. So remember, this is essentially saying y equals 5. Hoi is when there's a y. So I'm going to go up to where y is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to draw a horizontal line here. Then pay attention to your domain. Less than or equal to 2. So x is 1, 2 is right here. Less than or equal to 2, so I'm going to put a solid dot because it's or equal to. And less than is going to be to the left. This is why we started today with the number line practice. All right, next graph. So if you wanted to go ahead and write it in pen now or make them different colors, you could. So this one, my beginning is -4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to rise 2, run 1, rise 2, run 1, rise 2, run 1, until I feel confident that I could draw a nice line. Okay, and then I want to, down 2, run 1. Okay, then I want to look at my domain. So x is greater than 2. So at 2, which was right there, I'm going to make this an open circle because it does not include it. And then I just want the ones greater than that. So these are all solid circles. All right, I hope that makes sense. That is my 10-minute mark. So we only got through pages 1 and 2. Bye, guys.